struggling bad. Some teams would be with our situation. Some teams might be satisfied being in the hunt, but we're not playing well.
The Brewers say that pitcher Brandon Woodruff now headed back to IL after injuring his right ankle in his last rehab start. In basketball, NBA insider Shams Charania reporting on ESPN that this time the Bucks trading Giannis is on the table.
They have one first-round pick that they can trade 6 years from now. They have top-heavy salaries. And again, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the two-time NBA MVP, he has not made any firm decisions about his future. But sources tell me for the first time in his 12-year NBA career as a Milwaukee Buck is open to exploring what it looks like potentially outside of Milwaukee.
With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. For tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 50s. And for tomorrow, again, a mix of sun and clouds, a pop-up storm or two, and highs in the mid-70s. Showers and thunderstorms possible into Thursday. Then much cooler for Friday and the upcoming weekend. Currently at 75 degrees.
I used to smoke. I thought of cigarettes as my best friend.
They were always there for me when I needed a break.
I also thought cigarettes were my best friend, and then they gave me peripheral artery disease.
I smoked and had a stroke. Actually, multiple strokes.
I smoked and have heart disease.
Here's my tip. If cigarettes are your friend, you need a better friend.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the CDC.
The Todd Albaugh Show.
I'm as guilty as anybody about this, not talking to real people in person. I'm sorry, I don't believe that texting or video conferencing or any other of that jazz can supplement one-on-one interaction. We as humans need other humans. We need to connect with people. So anyway, that's the public service announcement to start off the week. Get outside and talk to real live humans. You'll feel better.
Catch the Todd Albaugh Show at its new time, weekdays 2 to 4 on Civic Media and the Civic Media app. Todd Albaugh.
Hey everybody, join us next time as our Mental Health Awareness Month series continues with Trygve Olsen from the Lincoln Project, persuading people positively when it comes.
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy who writes checks his mouth can't cash, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome to Night Light, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's Tuesday it up. Beautiful day in the state of Wisconsin. We are on the air live with Night Light on the radio, the good old-fashioned radio. If you're listening on the radio, I applaud you. We're also on the stream and the app and all kinds of fun stuff. And people can probably just go to the website and listen to the show as well. You have many different ways to Night Light, however you so choose to do so. It's just great. And it's great to have you. We have a fun show tonight. Like we try to do every night here. We hope to send you off to bed or end your workday with some laughs and some talk about comedy and movies and TV and all that kind of good stuff. And tonight, this is exciting, Conrad. I don't know if you're aware of this. I hope you are, though.
I think so. I'm not sure what the talking thing is.
This is like a field trip tonight.
Yeah,
it's museum night here. It's night at the museum on Nightlight. Nightlight at the museum. How do you like that?
I like it.
I like it too.
One of them I'm really familiar with because I spent half of my childhood there. It feels like.
Did you really?
At the Circus World Museum, yes.
You spent half your childhood?
It feels like my grandparents they live in Baraboo, so naturally we'd go. They used to actually volunteer there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I'd go there a lot as a child, and I probably saw everything that you could see there.
God, no kidding. I've never been there. I've never been.
It's really fun experience for the whole family. I'd say it's not just for kids.
Yeah. Conrad is talking about the Circus World Museum in Baraboo, which is the home or was the home of Ringling Brothers. 5 of the brothers lived there, which I think is fascinating, like spanning 2 centuries. And it's just an institution right here in Wisconsin, down in Baraboo. And tonight, joining us at 7:20 will be Jennifer Kronk. She is the curator of the Circus World Museum, and she's going to talk about all kinds of fun stuff they have coming up down there right here in our state. If you live south or feel like a road trip, it's definitely something to check out, as attested to here by the kid Conrad Krieger. So what I think is kind of cool is they have shows there too.
Yeah, I once saw a magic show there.
Okay.
Which was, I don't remember what age I was, but I was like, I want to do magic. Nice. I had to be like 11 or something, but it was really cool. And then
that dream flamed out.
You can see all the the train cars that they have like going through, the parades that they have in Baraboo. They have them all right there. You can go see them. They're really cool.
And I know they have the big circus parade in Milwaukee. They must haul all that stuff over to Milwaukee, right? I would imagine.
And you go into I can't think of what it's called, but the big
visitor center, auditorium, arena.
We're getting closer, I think.
Okay. Just wing it.
It's where the clowns perform,
Yeah, the Big Top.
The Big Top. There we go. Thank you.
Yes,
I've seen many shows at the Big Top there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you feel free to jump in when Jennifer Kronk is the name of our guest at 7:20. She's the curator. And if something pops into mind, feel free to jump in and ask our guest at 7:20, Jennifer Kronk. Then at 6:35, our first guest tonight is Greg Vadney. He is the executive director of the RAR Museum in Manitowoc and the RAR West Museum. Did I say West?
Well, you did now.
Okay. So I don't want people to go to the East Museum.
The North,
that one
the South.
Sucks, yeah. But Greg will be here. He's always fun. He's coming into the studio. I was nice enough to judge the Sputnik contest. No, they were nice enough to ask me, and Amanda Nimmer set the thing up, and I was the judge of the costumes for Sputnik Fest. And that was a lot of fun, and I got to hang out with Greg a little bit there. He's been on the show a couple times. Greg is a great guy. He's going to tell us all the cool stuff coming up at the RAR West in Manitowoc. If you haven't been, you got to check it out. It's a gorgeous facility. Did you spend any time there, Conrad?
I can't say I have.
Come on, man.
I think you should judge the Sputnik Fest again, and I think I should enter.
I think you should. In like the 9 and under group, which is one of the groups.
And just to have a little like paper that says I am 9.
Yeah. Like a fake ID.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll do all of that tonight. We're going to talk. It's museum talk. And in between that, we'll filter in your texts and we'll talk about movies and TV. My son, Joe, he's like, you talked about Speed Racer last night? And I said, yeah. I said, Conrad and I talked a little bit about it. And then we talked about it with Matt Miller. So we just kind of touched on it.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what you guys talked about yesterday is the visuals of it. I think, like myself, I think are great.
Yeah.
But Matt kind of was like, the comedy doesn't really hit that well when you're older.
True.
And I rewatched it probably about a year ago or something. And I agreed. It was, the story though.
Yeah. But the parts of it you liked,
the visuals
held up. You still like that?
The visuals when he's racing on all those tracks,
yeah, that's
different places.
Cool.
I think it's really cool.
Agreed. So we'll talk with those are our guests. And then we've also got, it's Homer Simpson's birthday. I can't believe we missed that last night, but he's a cartoon character.
Do you know how old he is?
He stayed 37.
That is not true.
Well, the show has been on over 30 years now, but Homer on the show, they say his age several times.
He's got to be pushing, probably about 60, I think.
Well, it just depends how they attack that from a writer standpoint on the show. Like, is this all 1 year? I mean, The Simpsons have been on for what? I mean, God, 30. They came on in 89. That's like 36 years.
So there's definitely more, than a year's worth of episodes.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's a tough one.
But it's like, they don't age. Like Bart Simpson stays the same age. Just like Family Guy. They never change age either.
And they stayed. It was just kind of fun because my mom, it was her birthday yesterday. That's why I was in a hurry to get out of here. And she shared a birthday yesterday with Homer Simpson, which she was thrilled about.
That's awesome.
All of her kids let her know, Mom, this is so great. So lots of fun stuff happening tonight. I have to say, I drove here tonight and there, as I do every night, on 41 and coming up over, it's not hilly from Marinette to Green Bay, but there are inclines, slight inclines, and you can, if you come up fast enough, you can come up on another car. Well, today I drove up. Everybody was hitting the brakes because it was one of these humongous farm equipment things. It took up a lane and a half.
Yeah.
Everybody hitting the brakes. Like, those things are dangerous. Like, I can't believe they can't go on the frontage road or something. It was like,
those are the most, I think, dangerous vehicles to be on the road with.
Oh yeah.
One time I almost hit a vehicle that was, I don't know what it was, but it was a farm equipment, and they didn't have any reflectors on anything.
Oh really?
So I turn on this road, and they're going across, no reflectors or anything.
But it wasn't the freeway or the highway.
No, I just couldn't see it.
Yeah.
I was like really close to hitting it.
It was dangerous. Everybody locked them up. People were letting people in, and everybody knew everyone was screwed if people didn't get over. It was kind of it was like everybody working together. And then you start to speed up, and there's another one like in a quarter of a mile. And it was just whatever. It's the highway. It's a country highway. What do you expect?
You're up there. It's Farmville up there,
I'm the one that moved very far away. It is my fault. I take full responsibility. Just so I could get a cheap house near the water that I had to move to the edge of the universe. Also known as Marinette, Wisconsin, a dandy little burg. We got a text overnight from Bud in Janesville. Bud often texts us between 4 and 6 a.m. when he is out delivering papers. He said, "Hey, Pete and Conrad, the summer song that comes to mind." That's right. Last night, our question of the night was, what is your favorite summer song? And Bud says, the summer song that comes to mind is Saturday in the Park by Chicago. That's a great one, Bud. To give it some context, I was playing on my boombox when I was with my first serious girlfriend on a blanket underneath the stars, where I was learning about the birds and the bees on the job. On the job? The hell kind of job is that?
Yeah, I know.
It's a pretty good gig. Keep it clean, Bud. This is a family show. He says, actually, it was more by trial and error. We don't need all these details. Where does that go? What's happening over here? Regardless, it was very memorable. Okay, I may have made up the contextual part. He just wants to go back down memory lane.
Yeah.
And pretend he was messing around with his high school girlfriend. Couple of fun kids. There you go, Bud. Thank you for the text. He says, love your show, Bud from Janesville. Always good to hear from you, pal. And be careful out there delivering those papers in the early morning hours. So, all right, last week. We got to get to the question. Good God.
Sounds good. Let's get
let's do it. This is a question of the night, folks.
Let's talk about the question.
Okay, question.
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 Pregunta.
Question.
Question.
Okay, I have a question. Questions? This question.
Domanda.
Question.
Question.
Questions.
What is... Oh, I'm sorry. If you could only listen to one style of music for the rest of your life, what would it be? If you could only listen to one style of music, what would it be? 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Let us know via text message or on the app. You can just click the little icon if you're listening on the app, and we will get your text and read it on the radio. And if you're listening or watching on the stream, that's fine too. Let us know and text us your favorite style of music. Not even your favorite, but what could you listen to for the rest of your life if you had to choose just one genre? I yield the floor to you, Conrad, tonight first.
I've given thought about this, but like, it is the genre I listen to the most, and it's like rap and hip hop.
For the rest of your life, though?
Yeah. I've been doing it for, however, I think probably about since I was like 12 or 13.
And
it's one of my favorite genres.
There are slower songs.
Yeah.
Like
there's different.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's different styles of it too, So yeah, I think I'd go with that because most of my favorite artists are in that genre.
I think I would, I want to say rock and roll, but I don't know. Like, I might have to go folk rock because I need some up tempo and then I need to slow it down. Like, I would say classical because that's like the most soothing, but sometimes I want to rock or love jazz, love blues. Jazz can be up tempo or slower. So I'm gonna figure this out, folks. My answer will be on standby, but I will get back to you. But let us know what you think. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. If you could only listen to one style of music the rest of your life, what would it be? Let's have some fun with this one. I also want to say, I want to get back to this because today I took a walk and the mayflies are insane. And we talked about this last week. It's out of control. And then I go to my car and I get in the car and 18,000 mayflies go in the car.
Oh,
so I'm like swatting them as I'm driving and avoiding farm equipment on the road. And it's, they're dangerous. And I think my question last week, why I asked you, is can mayflies break a fast? So here's what we're going to do. When we come back, folks, after this very short break, I'm going to read some texts and I'm going to tell you how many calories per fly, dry weight, are in a mayfly.
Very interesting topics. Nightlight tonight.
Probably a little protein in there. But it's museum night. Welcome. Greg Vadney is here at 6:35 and Jennifer Kronk from the Circus Museum. She's the curator down there in Baraboo. Both guests. So much fun tonight. We'll tell you everything that's going on. We'll read your texts. We got some great clips, all kinds of fun here on Nightlight. Coming up next, though, and if you want to text over the commercial, let us know how many calories you think one mayfly contains. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Shiny, happy people holding. Shiny, happy people.
From Denmark to De Pere, this is 97.9 WGBW, Remembering Vietnam, brought to you by The Dispensary.
May of 1969, I was near Dak To in Vietnam. Up until then, except for a few rockets and mortars, everything was pretty calm. But then things changed. We started getting ground assaults. Seemed like almost every night, many times, they would probe the perimeter. Then they got inside. I don't know how many times, but they started bringing heavy stuff. 122 millimeter rockets. These things were 6 feet long and huge in diameter. All they did was prop them up on a tripod somewhere in the jungle and fire them like a giant bottle rocket. You would hear the whoosh when it was fired, then thump, thump. If you're on guard duty in the main tower looking out into the jungle, you could see a puff of smoke. Then you'd see them coming in. Mike Brzezinski, United States Army, Vietnam.
Hear this full story at WGBW.FM. Click on Remembering Vietnam. Brought to you by The Dispensary. Online at thed8dispensary.com.
Tattoo addiction is here, now in the Fox River Mall. They are the only walk-in tattoo shop open all day, every day, like no other. Check out their $40 small tattoo special, perfect for your first ink or a fresh edition. And that's not all. Their piercing game is strong. From nose to navel, they've got top quality jewelry and expert piercers ready to hook you up. While your family shops, get the treatment you deserve. Come meet their experts today inside Fox River Mall. Tattoo addiction. Walk in, get ink, stand out.
Why are interscholastic sports called the last classroom of the day? Because they teach students important life lessons like teamwork, accountability, and perseverance. School sports are so much more than a game. They're about developing the whole person. That's why they're an essential part of every student's education.
Encourage your student to participate in the last classroom of the day. Interscholastic sports in Wisconsin. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Teachers are diverse, skilled leaders, innovating to prepare students for our fast-changing world. Teaching shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org, supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
Of radio. I've only been doing this a little over a year. That's impressive. That's a little better now. All right, the glare is off. We got a glare bouncing off the building across the street here in downtown Green Bay that was illuminating.
Yeah, you like
spacious for.
I was looking on stream. You know, I didn't want to interrupt you, but like,
appreciate that.
It was just a yellow spot on your face. You could barely see your eyes.
Yeah, that's all right. So, all right. let's get this out of the way because I know people are chomping at the bit trying to find this out. This is information, by the way. If it's unclear, Conrad, part of this is on you because you sent this information last week. I asked if me swallowing like 100 mayflies on a walk breaks a fast because I was doing intermittent fasting. Here's what one mayfly weighs, and this is dry. Conrad took the liberty of putting dry weight. This is dry weight. 0.008 calories per fly. That's dry weight. And then you wrote 0.0004 calories per fly. But what does that mean? Because they're both per fly. Do you remember?
I think the dry weight is when they're dead, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Well, you are breaking a fast though. Because
Probably.
it's not zero.
It's not 0 calories.
So you did.
Well, that really sucks. Don't get me wrong, they tasted good. They're such a nuisance though. And then they get in your car. It's like everywhere you go. I have to put my car in the garage at night just so mayflies don't get in there.
I'm like, if I swallow a bug, I'm deeply worried that I'm going to get sick because of all the stuff that they touch.
It's going to like glom onto your stomach or something and put something it sat in a picnic bench in your stomach.
It's
like, horrible.
It's like when you're younger and you swallow a watermelon seed. Like, you're going to grow watermelon.
In your stomach. Yeah, that works. All right, so there you go, folks. So in case you were wondering, and I thought for whatever reason, I thought mayflies lasted like a day or two. It's been a week. And they're still everywhere, at least where I live.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible. So our question of the night, folks, is if you could only listen to one style of music the rest of your life, what would it be? I'm on the fence. I love jazz because it's cool. You can speed up, slow down. But rock has a lot of jazz in it. And blues. That's where rock comes from. And there's rock like Chicago with horns. Springsteen's E Street Band has a ton of horns and brass. I don't know. I'm struggling here, but I'm probably going to say jazz.
I mean, would you miss though, like people like, is it jazz that sings too, right?
Yeah, well, you could sing to jazz. Absolutely. Yeah.
I just like thinking if it's just instruments, would you miss the vocal part
I see
of
what
it?
you're saying. Yeah, I would, but you can sing during jazz or blue. Like I just saw Sinners, some great blues songs in Sinners. I don't know, maybe I go rock and roll. We'll see. Let's get to the text. On the social media, Daniel Wheeler says, I'd choose Brazilian jazz. It's upbeat, relaxing, and great background music to just chillax with. I have to wet my mouth to say the word chillax.
Yes, you do.
To say it properly. That's an inside joke. Thank you, Daniel. Sarah Jean Rosenberg says, Daniel Wheeler, I'm intrigued. Any suggestions on where to start listening to this? I have a band or album recommendation to check out. I love that. Texters. It's an information exchange.
It is.
I hope Sarah Jean finds something she loves, thanks to our pal Daniel. Daniel says, Sarah Jean, honestly, it's all Pandora. I think Daniel's full of it. I don't think he has ever listened to Brazilian jazz. He says, it's all Pandora. I like this song and made a station from it. I get that. I've done that too, Daniel. He says, it's wonderful background music and just drifts nicely between your conscious and subconscious as you're working on art or something. I get that because I like to listen to music when I write if I'm trying to capture a particular mood or scene, but jazz is something I really started to dig because I could have it on in the background and you can't follow jazz. So it's easier to concentrate. Amanda Nimmer, all caps. She says rock. That a girl. Nothing wrong with that, Amanda. Dan Davey says they say one's choice of music style mirrors their persona. My favorite is angry and drunk Irish music. Oops. Okay, Dan. Kick back a few more and go pick a fight, Dan. Sarah Jean also says probably bluegrass. I've heard some variations that I think could quench my multi-style music needs. That's a great choice, actually, because you've got all of those different things coming together. You got rock, jazz, blues, rockabilly, hillbilly. You could have someone playing the jug. Steve from Florida says, interesting fact about Conrad. He attended clown camp at the Circus World Museum at around the age of 7. Do you remember that?
I remember a couple things from that.
That's kind of cool.
I remember it being really hot in a gym where we practice, and that I was the big guy who lifted heavy things.
Okay.
So I
were you in
like,
a goose?
I was like 7 lifting like 50-pound dumbbells.
Here's what your dad.
Like styrofoam.
Here's what your dad says. Conrad and his cousin Colin also spelled with a K. Okay, this is getting weird. Performed at the end of camp. And in the Big Top, they brought the house down, a memorable event. We got to see pictures, Steve. Please share some photos if you have. Ross from Crawford County says classical because it covers them all. Yeah, that's a great choice, Ross. I thought about classical too. I listen to it a lot. KUSC on iHeart, great stuff on a Sunday morning. Sherry from Horicon says, good evening, Pete and Conrad. I would pick all 70s. She just goes year. She's not confining herself to a genre. Sherry says, I'm picking a decade. We love you enough, so that's fine, Sherry. Jimmy K, Max Inc. Radio, says, original local music from Wisconsin, of course. Yeah, that's a genre. Sure, we'll take that.
Wisconsin is I like that.
I love it, Jimmy. Thank you, buddy. AJ in the 608 says, good evening, PNC. Oh,
P&K.
Oh, AJ, you are gonna invoke the wrath of the kid Conrad Krieger. She says the Speed Racer movie was a triumph of cinema and comparable to Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Interesting. Honestly, it was just so much fun. But if I had to choose a music genre for the rest of my life, it might be folk. I'm with you, AJ. That's a great choice. She says, love Sun Kill Moon, Gordon Lightfoot, and I would put Lumineers in there. I guess I feel like it's broader than people give it credit for. There's no bigger fan of Gordon Lightfoot than me, AJ. That's great. We'll read some more texts as the show progresses. Rose on the stream, though, says, hi, Pete. Hi, Rose. Great to have you with us tonight. Great to have all of you with us. It's a field trip to museums tonight on Nightlight, and it's all coming up next after the news. This is Pete Schwaba. We're coming right back.
This is the talk of Green Bay, WGBW. Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. There's another Wisconsin connection to the new head of the Catholic Church. Pope Leo XIV is the first pope from the United States. Sister Diane Bergant, who now lives in Fond du Lac, was one of the Holy Father's instructors when he attended the Catholic Theological Union in Chicago. The student, then known as Robert Bob Prevost, took her Intro to the Old Testament class in his first year and other courses afterward. Bergant says it sounds strange to say, but she taught the Pope how to understand the Bible. After months of complaints from residents about the growing number of deer and the ticks they bring in yards and neighborhoods, Howard Village trustees voted last night to ban wildlife feeding in the community. The ordinance bans people from putting food out for wildlife on their property or in parks. Fines for violating the ordinance range from $500 to $1,000. Sleep in Heavenly Peace, an organization that provides beds for children who may not have one, needs volunteers Saturday for a bed building project in the greater Green Bay area. With a mission that no kid sleeps on the floor in our town, the organization has chapters nationwide and 21 in Wisconsin. The volunteer opportunity Saturday allows people to build beds alongside the team from St. John Lutheran Church in De Pere. SHP will provide all of the lumber and tools. To volunteer at Saturday's bed build, see our story at WGBW.FM. WGBW has an e-newsletter that comes out twice a week, and it is filled with stories you care about from the greater Green Bay area. Subscribe today at WGBW.FM. I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Thoughts and prayers is a saying we hear way too much lately, it seems. It was only a matter of time before it was the title of a movie. The film is about a musical reenactment of a 10-year-old high school tragedy. This is director Nite Major's a feature film directorial debut, and the material is based on her short film, which received Oscar buzz and is based on a true story. Major also wrote the film, which has a great ensemble cast, including Patrick Wilson, Molly Ringwald, Elizabeth Marvel, and Margaret Cho. And speaking of short stories, if you have one, you could possibly possibly get $2 million for it. That is what Skydance paid for a sci-fi story called Drift, in which a disgraced space commander is pulled back into action to try and save his estranged son after he is kidnapped by a group from another world. According to Deadline, a good movie comparison is Gravity meets Arrival. $2 million for something that's been done before. Money well spent? For more showbiz fun, tune in to Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. For tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 50s. And for tomorrow, again, a mix of sun and clouds, a pop-up storm or two, and highs in the mid-70s. Showers and thunderstorms possible into Thursday. Then much cooler for Friday and the upcoming weekend. Right now, it's 76.
Teachers are dynamic leaders shaping a new generation. They bring a variety of perspectives from diverse backgrounds, innovating how they teach to prepare students for our fast-changing world. They're skilled experts, discovering a universe of solutions, telling stories, inspiring, mentoring, connecting cultures, leading by example. Teaching is a journey that shapes lives. Are you ready? Explore teaching at teach.org. Supported by the U.S. Department of Education and 1 million teachers of color.
Dr. Kristen Lyerly.
Freedom Town Chair and Director of Parks for Outagamie County, Justin Schumacher. Do you think the bureaucracy is responding to the needs of the people?
No, I think if it was responsive, we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. That doesn't mean we burn the entire system down. How do we solve it? Get involved. Join your Parks Committee. Recognize where we're not good and improve it.
The Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. Saturday and Sunday afternoons at 3 on WGBW and WISS and the Civic Media app. The Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show.
Green Bay Mayor Eric Genrich stops by to share a little.
I'm Pete Schwaba. It is National Crouton Day. Oh, that gets your mouth watering, huh? You ever been so hungry you just reach in to a bag and grab some croutons and start mowing them?
Yes, I've done that. 100%.
I've done that too. I've done that like, oh, here comes Greg. I've done that too, like where I'm having a cocktail and sometimes you just need something to kind of snack on when you're having a little whiskey or a beer. And sometimes, a crouton provides that. It's also National Apple Pie Day, which is cool. Our question of the night is: if you could only listen to one style of music for the rest of your life, what would it be? Nick from Marshall says, I listen to a variety of genres, but reggae music is my ultimate favorite genre. Agree with Conrad, rap and hip-hop is very good, but old school hip-hop from the late 70s through the mid-2000s, modern rap and hip-hop can be good, especially if it's by a rapper who has been in the game for a very long time, like Eminem, Snoop Dogg, Nas. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Okay. Wow, even Greg Vadney knew that. I don't mean even like...
I'm a New Yorker.
I don't think like museum directors shouldn't know cool music. He says, but most of the new young artists suck. Plus, the names suck too. Like Lil Poopy. Remember that, Conrad? Oh, we had fun with that dude's name.
We need to remember his birthday, so we can wish him a happy birthday next time.
That is an awful name, though. I could not agree more with you, Nick. All right. It is time this is our field trip tonight. We are doing nothing but museum talk when it comes to guests anyway. Jennifer Kronk she's the curator of the Baraboo Clown Museum. No, that's not right. Baraboo Circus World. Good God, Pete. She's coming up at... See, I
got here just in time.
I went to clown college for 3 years, but I couldn't finish.
Oh my gosh,
it was too difficult. You'd think it'd be easy, but no. And now our first trip down Museum Lane is with our pal Greg Vadney. He's the executive director of the RAR West Museum in Manitowoc, and he joins us here in studio. It's great to see you, buddy.
Great to see you too.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me by.
Hey, anytime. This is like, what, your third or fourth?
I think it is. Yeah, it's third, I think.
Always fun.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
Good. Busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the 75th anniversary of my humble museum.
Is that right?
So we've had programming all year long, and we're going to continue it all year long.
So 75 years.
75 years, starting in
You've only been there
1950.
61 years of that, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
You came over from New York
I
as
know.
a 12-year-old.
Don't I look young for being 85 years old?
For a stressed out executive museum director.
No, man, I've been there 13 years.
Wow. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
And you're a New Yorker. We've covered that before,
no
but I don't know if I ever asked you this. Did you come here for this gig, or were you here already?
Oh, that let's see, because we don't have that much time to talk about it. But the short story is I came here because of a girl. My wife is from Manitowoc.
That's how they get
But
you, Greg.
I had a museum degree, so I was looking for museum.
Okay.
And it's funny because we would come and visit her family, and they'd be like, "Hey, I thought you were going to move to Wisconsin." I was like, "Well, it's not like being an electrician. It's not like there's a job in every town." Then I started to think maybe I should just be an electrician, right?
Yeah.
I could visit
Why not? You can do
museums.
that
I could
in Wisconsin.
volunteer. But then thankfully, this job opened up in her hometown, and it worked out incredibly well.
And you love it there. You like Manitowoc.
I do.
Yeah.
I love Manitowoc.
Right on the lake.
I honestly do. Not like just blowing smoke with it.
Yeah.
I adore Manitowoc. I love raising my kids there.
Yeah.
I'm very, very blessed to have married into a wonderful family. So my wife's family, many of them still live in Manitowoc, and they're wonderful people.
See, that's the problem with me. I only like my wife of all of her family members.
Oh yeah.
How do you
man.
navigate that?
That is hard. That's hard.
I know they're listening too, so I can ask the problem. All right. So you said we don't have that much time. You got to scoot? What?
No,
you just
I don't
got
have to
here.
scoot,
Okay.
but I
You
can
got a curfew?
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, you pull the string with me, we're gonna have like a 3-hour conversation.
Well, we
here,
can't
Pete.
do
We
that,
can't do that.
but okay.
That's what I'm saying. That was more for me than
All right.
you or our listeners.
Well,
I needed to know that I had to keep it short.
We had a guest on 3 weeks ago or so who we had booked, and we solidified the time and all that. And he goes, "I can only stay a couple minutes." And
Oh,
we're
jeez.
like, "Oh, okay." He's just stopping by. But it worked out just fine, and there was a miscommunication. But anyway, so you stay as long as you like, buddy. That's what I'm saying. But
Awesome.
we do
Sounds
have
great.
a lot to cover because there's
Yeah,
a lot
sure.
going on at RAR West.
There are.
So should we start with exhibits or events that people can still be part of before we get to the upcoming? Or
Yeah,
how do you
let's
wanna
do it.
Let's do that. Yeah,
Let's do
okay.
it. So the big one would be this week, and that is, I said we're celebrating our 75th anniversary, which is a big anniversary. We're also celebrating another huge milestone, which is the 100th, we'll say, anniversary of our Georgia O'Keeffe painting in our collection, Persian Pine Tree number 2.
That's right.
Right? That was painted in 1925, and the museum, it is kind of like, we have some wonderful art. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like, we've got Picassos, we've got Warhols, we have some other like very well-known American artists from the 20th century.
Okay.
But the Georgia O'Keeffe painting is like the big one, the piece de resistance.
Do you feature local artists?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. We'll
Okay.
I'll actually talk a little bit about that. But, Georgia O'Keeffe kind of counts. People think of her as like New Mexico, but she grew up in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
I just did a painting of Conrad last week, and it's fine, but you probably, I understand.
Oh, all right. Well,
that's-
yeah. No, if you're doing the hard sell here, I'm listening.
He's got high tops on and a backwards baseball hat. I don't see enough of those kind of paintings.
That's nice. That's contemporary.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I forgot you guys had a Georgia O'Keeffe.
So we
That is
really
really cool.
And I'm telling you,
Yeah.
man, it is our calling card. It's traveled around the world. It is, out of our collection. And if you'll indulge me, I'll tell you a little bit about
Please.
what I know about it.
Yeah.
Because we have an event coming up this Thursday, free event, 3 p.m. P.D. Young, who is an art educator at the Art Institute of Chicago, is going to be at the museum, and he's going to put this O'Keeffe painting in proper context. He's the professional, right?
Wow.
I pretend to be a professional, but I know two things about this O'Keeffe. I know where it was painted in Lake George, New York, which is
Okay.
not far from my hometown, and a place where I go every year. I have family that live in Lake
Nice.
George. I know exactly the spot because there's a nice marker, thanks to the state of New York, that shows where she summered.
That's so
And
great.
It's not far from where my family, I've got my aunt and uncle have a house in Lake George. I've got friends who have a Lake George house. So I see it every year, which is fun. And it's funny for Wisconsin people, Lake George Village in Lake George. Lake George has been a tourist town
for centuries. Like Thomas Jefferson used to vacation there. It's been a long time. It's been a place to go.
What was his name again?
Last name was Jefferson. Jefferson.
Not familiar with that.
He was Southerner. I think he's in that musical, Hamilton.
The one with all the ramping that you and Conrad are such fans of. Do you get to see, when you're there, do you get to see where she painted?
Nah, kind of.
Okay.
It's the property.
That's
and the
the kind of
house,
stuff that
the house
fascinates
is gone now and all that. And a few years ago, the first time I saw it, after I had taken the job, I've got a bunch of kids. So like I said, Lake George Village, it's been a tourist destination. Now it's kind of like a miniature version of the Dells. You're talking about a lot of miniature golf and water slides and, tchotchkes that they sell in every store and ice cream and all that. So my kids want to go there. They're like, let's go to the arcades. And Dad pulls over at a stupid sign on the side of the road. And the painting is birch and pine tree. Now, New York is kind of like the North Woods here. There are a lot of pine trees. So my kids are in the car screaming at me, Dad, you said we could go to the arcade. And I'm like, let me just find one stinking birch tree. It doesn't matter if it's the right one. I just want a picture. So eventually I had to acquiesce and I just gave up. And I said, listen, we'll go to the arcade. Let's just go to the arcade, guys.
Is this the painting that you guys have?
Well, yeah, that's the one right there that you're scrolling over.
Right here?
Yep. It's one of 3. So it's good because you said, which one is ours? So we have birch and pine tree number 2. There is a birch and pine tree number 1, which is at the Philadelphia Art Museum. Think Rocky, right? The Rocky Steps.
Yeah.
Their museum has the first one. And then there's what is known as birch and pine tree pink, which almost looks like rhubarb, sticks of rhubarb,
Huh.
And that one is up in Maine at a college, Colby College in Maine. But ours is the best.
Obviously. So how does this little museum in Manitowoc, this cool little funky
it's like we worked this out ahead of time, because that's the other thing I really know a lot about.
Yeah.
And that is how we got it.
Tell me, please. Right? I think that's half the story right there.
So again, quick answer is there's a West connected to our name, and that is the West family, John and Ruth West.
Okay.
And the easy answer is Ruth West is the reason. Ruth West. The West family owned the Manitowoc Company, which was shipbuilding. A lot of people know them for cranes now. Okay. So they were great patrons. And Ruth West knew that she was nearing the end of her time. She had already really turbocharged the museum with her money, but also with her knowledge of art. And she had gotten us an amazing collection of art. And she decided, I want one last big piece as a final gift.
Wow.
And the beautiful thing is that final gift was this painting. And this painting had 2 owners. One is the Rahr West Art Museum. But before that, it was owned by one individual, Georgia O'Keeffe.
Georgia O'Keeffe? Oh my
Georgia
God,
O'Keeffe never sold it, never gave it away. She had it with it at her property. She kept it her entire life. She died in 1986. In 1990, her family auctioned off some of her own personal artwork, including some of her artwork that she had created, including Birch and Pine Tree number 2. And Mrs. West, Ruth West, bought it on behalf of the Rahr West Art Museum. A final wonderful gift.
That is the voice of Greg Vadney. He is the executive director of the Rahr West Museum in Manitowoc. If you haven't been there, you have to check it out. They have an original Georgia O'Keeffe. That's what we're talking about right now. Aaron Zomer is listening on, I believe, on the app says, I love the Rahr West. One of the things I miss the most from living in Manitowoc. I didn't know Zomers lived in Manitowoc.
I didn't either.
Oh, man. He'd be a great neighbor for you, Greg.
Well, thank you.
Good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah,
come on back and visit.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that so? Is that the prize piece? Would you say of the museum?
Yeah, that's our big one. We have other ones that are incredible. A great Marc Chagall art collection. Like I said, Warhol, Picasso's, but that O'Keeffe is that's a big one.
Fantastic. So what else is an exhibit people can still check out that might be running out, or do you want to get to the upcoming stuff?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me continue on with the O'Keeffe, because we have the celebratory event, which is Thursday, this coming Thursday, the 15th.
Oh, cool.
It's free to the public. 3:00, we have P.D. Young from the Art Institute of Chicago visiting us and sharing his great knowledge of George O'Keeffe and putting the painting into the context of what George O'Keeffe was up to in the 1920s. paintings.
Is that something
Which
people
would be-
have to get tickets
Nope,
for?
no tickets.
Even though it's free? Like they
Nah,
can just
come
show
on
up.
by.
Wow, nice.
Come on by. And then we're going to do a special ribbon cutting because we figured we got a bunch of people coming anyway.
Yeah.
So we're going to celebrate the 75th anniversary with a ribbon cutting at the museum. That'll happen at 4:00, just after the talk. So we'll all get together and do kind of a photo op.
Oh, fun.
And celebrate both the George O'Keeffe painting's 100th birthday and the 75th of the RAR West. And, you know, as you were saying, like what kind of other exhibits? Our historic Vilas RAR mansion is just chock full of exhibits this year celebrating our 75th.
We'll jump into all that. We got to do a very short break. But is that house? Was that the West's house?
No, that was the RAR's house.
I'm sorry, the RAR.
The RAR's gave us the house. The
RAR
Wests gave us the art.
Wow, that's teamwork right there. All right,
No
Greg
shit.
Vadney is here. He's the executive director of the RAR West Museum in Manitowoc, which absolutely rocks. We'll have some more with Greg, more time with Greg, and we're going to find out some other events that are upcoming and all kinds of fun stuff. Maybe we'll even touch on Sputnik Fest if we can. That's always
I don't
fun.
mind talking about that.
All right, we're coming right back. It's Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
And it comes as no surprise to me with another guy. Here comes my baby. Here she comes now. Walking with a love that's so fine.
Reach, engage, grow with Civic Media. Log on civicmedia.us/advertise.
Appleton Cigar Company on College Avenue has been serving the community for over 25 years. If you are a cigar aficionado looking for a one-of-a-kind experience, you need to check out Appleton Cigar, which boasts the largest selection of cigars north of Milwaukee with over 706 cigars to choose from in a walk-in humidor. The Cigar Lounge offers an impressive variety of spirits and cocktails that pair perfectly with a premium cigar. For the full experience, come to Appleton Cigar at 415 College Ave, Monday through Saturday, 11:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. For more information, go to appletoncigar.com.
Insight Eye Care has been serving the Fox Valley for over 30 years and are proud sponsors of Mino and the Mayor's Eye on the Community. Insight offers comprehensive eye care, including glasses and contact lenses. Their doctors have a special interest in treating chronic eye disease, specialty contact lenses, and pediatric care. Find Insight on Sawyer Street in Oshkosh and Chain Drive in Appleton. Visit WIinsight.com to schedule your eye exam. Improving lives by improving sight. Insight Eye Care.
UW-Madison is one of the country's leading hubs for supporting life-changing research and building a skilled workforce. An investment in UW-Madison helps make a healthier Wisconsin, build strong businesses, and win the war for workforce talent, not just at Madison, but across our entire state. Visit uwalumni.com/UW9 to tell your legislators to support UW-Madison in Wisconsin state budget. That's uwalumni.com/UW9. Paid for by the Wisconsin Alumni Association.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduce stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Mino and the Mayor.
Well, I want to do something where I can really show off my thighs. I'm gonna load them down with beeswax or bees pollen. I really am. Theirs are gonna glue. You talk about effervescent. What does that mean, John? Glowing.
Does it?
Glowing. It means glowing.
I thought that was what you get when you pop like Alka-Seltzer in a jar.
Well, there's different types of effervescence. Oh, gee. There's different levels.
Mino and the Mayor, weekday mornings 6 till 9 on 97.9 WGBW and 98.3 and 96.5 W.
It's Night Light at the museum. That's what we're calling tonight's show because we have two great guests who are very involved in different museums. Jennifer Kronk will be here from Circus World in Baraboo. She's here at 7:20. And right now, our pal Greg Vadney is here for the multiple. You're like basically, you're like the house band almost.
Oh, I don't mind that, man.
Yeah.
Have me back
Not
as
a bad
many
gig.
times as you want. I love it.
You play an instrument?
Ooh,
there's the rub.
I took guitar. I took guitar lessons in 6th grade.
Oh boy.
For like a month or two. And this will give you the exact age that I am. I learned one song, Hip to Be Square, Huey Lewis and the
It's a
News.
good one.
Yep.
I mean, it's not bad.
It's not necessarily known as a guitar song.
Not even his best song either, but
No way.
But a fine tune.
But yeah. There you go.
Well, it's great to have you here. We were talking about Georgia O'Keeffe, and that's Thursday. And Petey Young will be there from the Art Institute in Chicago talking about this original painting that you guys have at the Raw West, which I think is just spectacular. That starts at 3?
It starts at 3:00.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, free to the public.
Love that
we'll have
too.
enough seating. We'll have it in our Ruth West Gallery. It's got a lot of seating. It should be a wonderful event. And again, it's a celebration of it is the 100th birthday of that painting. It's been 100 years since it was painted, and it just so happens that falls during a member swap weekend. The RAR West works with a bunch of different other cultural institutions in Manitowoc and Two Rivers, and each year we host a member swap, which is kind of that reciprocity for anybody's members. So if you're a member of the RAR West, the Farm Discovery Center, the Wisconsin Maritime Museum, Woodland Dunes Nature Preserve, Hamilton Wood Type Museum, or the Pinecrest Historical Society, if you're a member of one, you're a member of all this weekend from Thursday until Sunday. So, for most of us, the membership, the big membership perk is free admission. So it's free admission in all of these different places. Now, the RAR West is one of those places that we don't charge admission anyway. But we do offer our member rates for classes if people want to sign up for classes this weekend. And we have a lot of wonderful, very unique things in our gift shop. You would mention Sputnik Fest before that. We have some Sputnik Fest gear that you can get at a discounted price as a member price. So we do have all those member benefits available to everybody anyone who is a member of any of those 6 institutions all this weekend, as part of our member swap in Manitowoc.
That is outstanding. I remember when I was one of the judges for the costume thing last year at Sputnik, I thought, I got in my car. It was a beautiful day. The sun was out. I got to Manitowoc, and I don't know what I stepped into a vortex or something. It was 30 degrees colder by the time I got there.
It was probably 50 degrees colder in Two Rivers.
I'm going to wear a snowsuit if I'm invited back.
I don't know. Courtney Hansen, our tourism chief, probably wouldn't like us talking about poor weather in Manitowoc.
Oh, that's true.
I will say that when I left there on my way here, it was very foggy.
Really?
Oh my gosh, it was like pea soup fog.
There was fog 20 miles south of here in Manitowoc, or 30, whatever it is.
Yeah, about 30 miles south of here in
Wow.
Manitowoc. But that's it's like going to London. Right? For somebody in Green Bay, it's like you go to London, it's cheaper than flying there. And wonderful artwork.
Different accents too.
Different accents. Fish and chips. We don't call it, it's just a fish fry. But hey, let's be honest, that's fish and chips.
Absolutely. So what else? We got to do the news in a couple minutes. Can you stay through the news?
Heck yeah.
Okay, awesome. So Greg Vadney is here, Executive Director of the RAR West Museum in Manitowoc. Great stuff happening. What else? What else is there now that people should take advantage of before we get to the upcoming
stuff?
Yeah.
Well, as I said, we have a 75th anniversary theme going on at the historic Vilas Rahr Mansion, which is part of the museum. And so we have 2 floors, about 6 different independent exhibitions, and they all are tied into this theme of our 75 years. And one of the examples I'll give, there was an affinity group of artists and art aficionados in Manitowoc for many, many years prior to the RAR West forming. They were called the Little Gallery. And the 2 things that they did that were very important, one, they collected art, and some of the art they collected is incredible.
Yeah.
A good example, there was an artist in town who was friends with an artist named Stuart Davis. Stuart Davis was a New York City modern artist. And because of the friendship between him and this guy from Two Rivers named Lester Bentley, I think because of their friendship, he sold a painting to the group for like $150.
150, not 150 grand, 150 bucks.
$150. Now, Stuart Davis nowadays is really considered to be one of the big kind of first level American contemporary artists, right? 1930s and 40s. And so, of course, this painting is worth a lot more now. It's like about 1.5 million now.
What?
So that's a good investment, right? So that painting during its time with the Little Gallery, not only was at museums, it hung at restaurants in Manitowoc. It was at the schools.
The 1.5 million one?
Libraries. This is through the years. This is like 1930s, 40s, 50s, through the years. You know, local stores in our downtown, like department stores, had it there. There were photos of it up there because it was like part of the community.
But
I love that, dude. I love that. It's great.
But
so now we have that. It's been part of our collection since the 1960s.
And it's worth 1.5 million.
Yeah, about that, thereabouts in our last estimate.
Give or take 100,000.
And it's not, I'm a museum guy. I don't talk about the numbers.
Sure.
No, it's it, but it is. I mean, it's a painting that could easily be New York, Chicago, LA, London, and would not be out of place in the largest museums in the world. And it's here in Manitowoc. You can find it on the second floor of the historic Vilas Art Mansion and learn about how that group of artists and things really built the RAR West collection into what it was.
You just invited every cat burglar in America to visit Manitowoc.
I got a security system.
Do
there.
you? Okay.
It's not.
You need some backup.
Yeah,
we got your back, buddy. Our question of the night is: if you could only listen to one form of music for the rest of what would it be? Dave on the stream says all country for me. All right, let us know, folks, and we'll read your text on the radio. More coming up with Greg Vadney after intermission here at Nite Light with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Is 97.9 WGBW Denmark, Green Bay's real news and great conversation, a Civic Media radio station.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. On day 2 of the Sean Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial, ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura testifying for 6 hours about Combs allegedly organizing drug and sex-fueled parties.
She testified that those freak-offs made her feel dirty and worthless, but that she felt like she did not have a choice but to participate because she says Combs would become violent with her, bash her in the head, kick and drag her, and that she didn't know what would happen if she didn't do what he wanted her to do.
ABC's Rena Roy. In Los Angeles, a hearing to determine whether the Menendez brothers spent enough time in prison has moved to closing arguments. Menendez attorneys and witnesses arguing that the brothers have rehabilitated since they killed their parents at their Beverly Hills home in 1989. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan, accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities by letting him exit her courtroom by a different route, indicted today by a federal grand jury. Dugan was suspended from the bench in April. This is ABC News.
Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup at civicmedia.us or the Civic Media app.
For 97.9 WGBW News, I'm Lisa Hale. A Fond du Lac woman was convicted of sex trafficking her 12-year-old daughter yesterday. 34-year-old Elia Antonio pleaded guilty to trafficking a child, failing to protect a child, and 2 misdemeanors. The criminal complaint says Antonio gave Juan Roca Meja access to her daughter for $250. Authorities say the girl fought off her attacker and ran to a home of a Good Samaritan who called 911. Antonio faces up to 52 years in prison when she's sentenced on August 12th. Roca Mieja goes to trial on charges of first-degree sexual assault of a child on June 23rd, but has a plea sentencing hearing scheduled for June 10th. Some lawmakers think the governor's plan to overhaul Wisconsin's prison system is lacking. Joanne Krulatz has that story.
Republican leaders on the legislature's budget panel say Democratic Governor Tony Evers' plan to overhaul the state's prison system needs work. Joint Finance Committee co-chair Representative Mark Bourne is pleased Evers wants to close the Green Bay prison, but said the plan is half-baked and needs a lot of work. Bourne and committee co-chair Senator Howard Markline expect there will be more conversations with the governor's office Under Evers' plan, the maximum security Green Bay Correctional Institution would eventually be shut down, and the hundreds of men housed there would be moved to other institutions. Evers also wants to convert changing the maximum security Waupun Correctional Institution into a medium security prison that focuses on job training. In all, the $535 million reorganization would reduce the capacity of Wisconsin's prison system by about 700 people.
I'm Lisa Hale, 97.9 WGBW News. For news anytime, log on to WGBW.FM.
The Brewers try to rebound. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. It's the Brewers and the Guardians tonight at Progressive Field. Their crew losing 5-0 after Jackson Churio misjudged a pop fly to center field, giving up a 3-run double to Gabriel Arias in the fourth. Pat Murphy.
I mean, there's a reason he wasn't in center field before that, and he's done some really nice things. But, we've got two center fielders down. He plays center, and some people think he's a center fielder, and mistakes like this or plays like this that he doesn't make, he'll learn from.
Freddie Peralta recording his 1,000th career strikeout despite the loss. NFL, the Packers in Green Bay for their off-season conditioning program. Defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley asked, how important would it be to get Jair Alexander back this year?
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one up to see what happens rather than talk on any hypotheticals. No, I respect the question, and I hope you respect my answer on that one.
That's Packers defensive coach Jeff Hafley. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
This is your local civic media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. For tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 50s. And for tomorrow, again, a mix of sun and clouds, a pop-up storm or two, and highs in the mid-70s. Showers and thunderstorms possible into Thursday. Then much cooler for Friday and the upcoming weekend. Right now, it's 73.
Maggie Dawn.
At 5 o'clock, I'll be joined by Richard Trent, the executive director of Main Street Alliance, to talk about the attack on families that Republicans are pushing forward in response to Governor Evers' budget. Don't miss it.
The Maggie Dawn Show, weekdays 4 till 6. The Todd Albaugh Show.
I'm as guilty as anybody about this, not talking to real people in person. I'm sorry, I don't believe that texting or video conferencing or any other of that jazz can supplement one-on-one interaction. We as humans need other humans. We need to connect with people. So anyway, that's the public service announcement to start off the week. Get outside and talk to real live humans. You'll feel better.
Catch the Todd Albaugh Show at its new time, weekdays 2 to 4 on Civic Media and the Civic Media app.
Did you know VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served?
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices, and with the VA loan, it makes it easier for us to get a home.
We were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home. I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
To learn more,
Broadcasting live from the Civic Media Studios in Green Bay, this is Night Light with Pete Schwaba, your inside source on everything entertainment from Wisconsin to Hollywood. And now, a guy whose house has an actual wiggle room, Pete Schwaba.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Nightlight at the museum. That's our theme tonight, folks. We're all about museums tonight, and we're having a blast here. We've got Jennifer Kronk coming up at 7:20. She is the curator at the Circus World Museum in Baraboo. Greg Vadney is here in studio talking about all things RAR West. In the first hour, if you missed it, our question of the night is, if you could only listen to one style of music for the rest of your life, what would it be? And the answers are all across the board, as you would expect. More hip-hop, I would say. That surprised me. We've got more hip-hop. I don't, because I like some hip-hop. I don't think I would pick that as my music for the rest of my life. I'm kind of torn between rock and folk, maybe jazz. As usual, I'm wishy-washy on my own question. But keep the texts coming. We'll read those on the radio. And what else do we do, Conrad? We determined that a mayfly has 0.0004 calories. If you happen to eat a mayfly when you're out taking a walk, they will break a fast.
Yes, they will.
We've established that.
Yep.
So There you go. You're caught up, folks. So let us know. We can do the question. You can chime in, and we'll read it, and you'll be part of the show. It's always more fun when you guys take part. So we are in the thick of Nightlight, kicking off hour number 2 here after intermission, and Greg Vadney is here, and it is great to have you here, buddy. Cool
it's
stuff
great
happening
to be here.
Yeah,
it's great to be here. I just learned a lot about the mayfly. I feel like, hey, this was worth my trip.
They've got to be bad
learned
in Manitowoc, right? I mean, you got the lake.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, my kids have all done baseball, t-ball, softball, that kind of thing, and they're all like swarming those fields at this time as they start their practices in the first few games.
It's like not even fun because then you get rid of those after like a week, and then the mosquitoes come in. And it's like, okay, well, I guess this is what we're doing.
Again, we're not really helping the Manitowoc Tourism Office today.
Well, except that they're everywhere.
I'll tell you, it's beautiful down in Manitowoc.
Here's why.
Please come down and visit. And if you do find yourself swarmed with mayflies, go into the Raw West Art Museum.
See, that's why I'm helping, because
there it is.
We don't have a museum like that in Marinette. We have to go in our house.
We are the most weatherproof tourist destination you could have.
You have options. So go to Manitowoc.
It's a controlled environment at the Raw West.
So tell us more, Greg, about what you have. You have this great Georgia O'Keeffe event Thursday at 3 p.m.
That's right. Thursday at 3 p.m. free event. We've got P.D. Young, an art educator from the Art Institute of Chicago, coming up to talk about Georgia O'Keeffe. Our painting Birch and Pine Tree number 2 is celebrating its 100th birthday in 2025. We are also celebrating our 75th anniversary. And like I had said before the break, we got a host of different exhibits connected to that. But we also have an event coming up next month.
Yeah, this sounds cool.
Yeah, Wednesday, the 25th of June. We figured it's 1950s when we got our start. Let's do a 1950s theme. And my curator, Diana Bollender, was like, Greg, we're doing a sock hop.
Love it.
And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but it sounds very 1950s. You know where I realized my two references for 1950s, again, this is going to age me, Happy Days. Happy Days,
which is actually
that,
70s.
I was like, that's the 70s version of, I think, the 50s.
Right.
And then Back to the Future. Back to the Future. So when she said sock hop, I was like, okay, like the Under the Sea.
Under the Sea, when he played Chuck Berry.
No, that's not a sock hop.
So
Apparently
what is a sock hop? I know it's a dance, but
I think that here's the deal. We are inviting people to get costumed up, get your poodle skirt on.
Nice.
We will have a sock contest. So there's going to be judges judging the sock game that people bring, and dances. There's going to be some coordinated dancing going on. We've got the Del Reys playing.
Ooh, I like the name of that. I don't know.
60s music. So
that's they're
going to be absolutely like Jan and Dean and some early Beach Boys stuff. I think it'll be the right vibe. I mean, for me, I would say I'm going to be mixing my idea of what the 50s and the 60s are. I know we're having a classic car rally, so there's going to be classic cars there from the 1950s, and we're stretching it into the 60s because, my gosh, it's we're thinking early era, and that's another free event. It's happening outside the museum, kind of like Sputnik Fest is done, out on our east lawn and in front of the museum. We're gonna have some food trucks. We're gonna have a hula hoop contest.
Fun,
and just bring that 50s vibe to the museum. The museum will be open for tours, and people can wander through the museum during the course of that night. And again, that is the evening of Wednesday, June the 25th. And we're also got a great partnership. So right down the street from us is the wharf right on the Manitowoc River as it meets Lake Michigan. And that is a great facility with its own outdoor stage. And they're hosting that evening the Letterman. So the Letterman, another great...
The actual Letterman?
Yeah, the band, the Letterman.
Wow.
So think about it this way. If you're into that 1950s, 60s vibe, come to the Raw West, enjoy some great music and some great fun at the Raw West, and then finish up the night down at the wharf. And I believe that starts at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. So a few hours after our event, you go down to the wharf and you can enjoy that 50s and 60s vibe all throughout Manitowoc. So that's how we bring it back. Manitowoc tourism.
Yeah. You're not going to like that. How old are those guys now?
They're up there. We've talked with at least one or two of them have some connection with the museum. But they're still going strong. I mean,
they just heard me
they don't stop. Yeah, somebody's calling in to tell you how old they are.
Oh, there it is. It's the Letterman.
It is the Letterman here. Yeah, we're young at heart. So that's awesome.
Really
that's
fun.
It's going to be a fun vibe, and it's funny because, as I said, my reference. I didn't grow up in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I'm not bragging about that, but my reference points are getting dated to the point where, like, when I brought up Happy Days to one of my employees, she was like, "What the heck are you talking about?" I'm like, Fonzie. She's like, "I have no idea what you're referring to."
But you just said, like, during the break that one of your kids is into Naz.
Yeah,
like,
that's
and my
deal,
kids like that too. They're into all these movies that I watch.
And here's the thing too.
I think that's kind of fun.
I was just talking to my daughter, who's 18, going to be 19 years old, just getting back from college, and I was like, "What is like the seminal movie that you grew up with? What is your version of like Ferris Bueller's Day Off?" And she struggled with it, and she's like, "Well, I've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off," and kind of translate. I said, "You need your own stuff."
No kidding.
But I'll tell you what, she made a good point. She's like, "Well, listen, your generation didn't create Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That was the generation before you. So why are you guys asleep at the wheel? You're supposed to be creating things for my generation to enjoy. And we're coming up with like High School Musical and garbage like that."
Garbage. But also, they don't watch movies, right? They're like on YouTube, and my daughter is just getting into movies now.
But like, it's my kids to listen. Like, my son listens to Nas, and I got one of my daughters is like huge into Weird Al. Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah. And it's like, guys, there's got to be people. Like, I keep on saying to my kids, I want you to listen to things and watch things that I'm horrified by.
Yeah.
I should be very confused and frightened by the things that you
I should
like.
want to send you to Catholic school because of what you're listening to.
Exactly right. You need a nun in your life.
Hilarious.
Yeah. And but instead, like, I sit down and watch things and I laugh about them, and then a joke comes up and I'm like, oh, I'm not supposed to laugh at that. Neither are you.
Oh, I know. It's
a troubling thing as a parent. I try to keep them on the straight and narrow, and then they find out about who I am.
Who you were.
They find that ugly underbelly, and yeah,
it's got to be forgivable. We didn't know any better, right?
Oh my gosh, but it's good. It's fun to see your kids explore that stuff.
Absolutely.
And then you're like, oh, I remember what I was doing back then.
That is the voice of Greg Vadney. He is here in the studio with me, and he is the executive director of the RAR West Museum in Manitowoc. We got a few more minutes here with Greg. What else can you tell us? What else you got coming up, buddy?
Well,
you want to talk about Sputnik Fest?
Well, we can hit up on that. I do want to mention another great exhibit that we have coming up, because we had some wonderful ones for our 75th anniversary. And in June, we are bringing in kind of a Manitowoc homegrown artist, Gary John Gressel, who grew up in Manitowoc, but has created artwork all around the country. It is collected by institutions throughout the state.
Nice.
And he's an assemblage artist. So he takes existing objects and kind of merges them together, fuses them into something new.
Very cool.
He's going to be, that opening, I believe, is June 8th at the RAR West Art Museum, and it runs until July 20th, the exhibit. But June 8th is an important one because he's the type of artist, like, you're going to need some kind of explanation, because you come across it and you're like, this is just wild.
You need it explained.
And he's going to be at the museum on the 8th. He'll be giving a talk, and again, free to the public.
Yeah.
And I think it's great to get context for stuff like that, because you can look at that kind of stuff and be like, come on, that's just junk.
Right.
But he's very thoughtful about what he's creating. It's not just he comes across a bunch of junk and then glues it together. There is
a method to his
There
madness,
is a huge method and a professional method. And this guy is heralded around the country for his artwork. And he's a native son of Manitowoc. So we want to celebrate. I think this is the first time he's had a solo show at the RAR West Art Museum. So that opening is on the 8th, and then it continues on until July 20th. And we got a bunch of other things. You can go to our website, rarwestartmuseum.org, to find out the upcoming exhibits. We've got a wonderful Keith Haring exhibit at the end of the year. New York artist, subway artist that is
nice.
Like, he was a contemporary of Warhol in New York and a big name. So going to be fun later on this year, but we'll talk about that down the road a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have you back before then, obviously. But that really cool stuff happening in June. I love both those events. Sound fun.
I know
Sock
it's going to be a
hopping.
fun June, and like that, it's great for us because we're gonna draw people from Manitowoc all the time.
Yeah.
But June is when we start to kick off that tourism season. So we start to see people coming off the SS Badger. We start to see people traveling from down here. And then we see people travel into the state from all sorts of other places. And they're stopping by the RAR West. It's great.
Always great when you can have an artist there too, because to me, that's what takes it to another level, is when you have them explain where they got their inspiration or what they were thinking or what. And so I highly recommend both these events, and go to the RAR West website and check that out too. We've got just under 2 minutes left. Let's talk Sputnik Fest. We got one of our texters on the stream said, Pete, I'd be very curious. This is Craig Kinnett, who's been on the show. I'd be very curious if Greg was familiar with the story of the Sputnik prank that was perpetuated in Big Falls, Wisconsin, around the same time the Sputnik piece crashed in Manitowoc. The prank was world news on as well, and it drew investigators from Russia as well as NASA.
I've not heard that. And Craig, please reach out if you want to come to Sputnik Fest Saturday, September the 6th, and
It's
share
really
that
fun.
story.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the Sputnik story until I visited the RAR West, and I had the same reaction that many people have given me, which is like, no, that didn't happen. I would have heard about it, but it did. It's an amazing story where this Soviet spacecraft, crashed right into Manitowoc, downtown Manitowoc, and
right by the
largest
museum.
Piece right in front of the museum. By the way,
that's insane.
Recent news.
Yeah,
another Soviet spacecraft just crashed off the coast of Indonesia like a few days ago.
Is that true?
That's true. That's
You're
true.
gonna
That
have,
one's been up for like 45 years.
You're going to have competition.
Well,
Sputnik
luckily,
Fest.
that's the thing. It landed in the water, so we should be okay. There might be.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe we can take a cruise.
A little scuba
Let's
dive.
do
Yeah.
a cruise, man, to Southeast Asia.
I love it. Greg Vadney, come back anytime, buddy. Always
Absolutely.
fun. And good luck with these events, the sock hop and the multiple artists visiting. I think it sounds fantastic. Check out the RAR West Museum website and get more information. And we will talk soon, buddy.
Thanks for having me on again, Pete.
Always fun.
It's great.
All right. That's Greg Vadney. We're coming right back to talk about, Conrad, what are we going to talk about from your childhood?
The Circus World
It's going to
Museum.
be awesome. Jennifer Kronk is coming up next. This is Pete Schwaba and Nightlight on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Fly the sky until the sky, leave the sky until the sky.
From Ashwaubenon to Alloway, this is 97.9 WGBW.
Feeling better is about feeling all kinds of things. You want to feel healthy, sure, but you also want to feel heard and understood, valued, even, well, loved. That's what we want too. We're Amplify Health, and we think the best way to care for someone is to care about them. That's why all our treatments include a little empathy. Welcome to healthcare that's all about caring. Welcome to Amplify Health by Bellin. A little empathy changes everything.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. The biggest thing that happens in Wisconsin state government every 2 years is the state budget. And last week at the state capitol, Republican lawmakers took a step forward in the process by voting out more than 600 measures from Governor Tony Evers' budget proposal. This has become a familiar step in this era of divided government. This is now the fourth budget proposal that Evers has put forward, and each one has been met with a similar fate. Even as this has become the custom, it doesn't have to be this way. Republicans could honestly engage with this budget and debate it on its merits. There are good, smart proposals here on everything from healthcare to education to childcare to environmental protection. And if there are items here they disagree on, make the case, have the debate. But by voting everything out and starting from scratch, they are letting down the people of Wisconsin they are elected to represent by refusing to have this debate on a very basic level. We should expect better.
Find all of Dan's work at the Recombobulation area.
Hey, it's John Mino.
And Jim Schmidt from Mino and the Mayor.
Want to stay in the loop with all things Northeast Wisconsin? Sign up for the WGBW weekly newsletter.
Get the latest local stories, updates on the weather, and a special feature from our Mino and the Mayor podcast.
It's your one-stop shop for real news and great conversation in Northeast Wisconsin.
Log on to WGBW.FM today and get signed up.
Real news, great conversation. Sign up today at wgbw.fm/newsletter.
Is getting vaccinated on your to-do list? We can help you check that off. You've got this. Yes, you do. See how we've got you at yougotthis.usaging.org. A message from the Aging and Disability Vaccination Collaborative, powered by US Aging.
Download the Civic Media app.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying.
Oh, fun night here at Nite Light. It's our Nite Light at the Museum episode. All museum talk tonight. Just worked out that way. I mean, we planned it. Local Emmy. That's all I'm thinking. Conrad, regional Emmy. That's what this show screams. Nite Light at the Museum.
I think we got a chance.
Submit us. I think it's going to happen. I don't even know if those exist. All right, folks. This is exciting. You know, I didn't grow up when I was in the 90s doing stand-up comedy. I would go up to Milwaukee, and one of my favorite clubs, the Comedy Cafe, was there. And there were several comedians that had gone through Baraboo, and they learned how to be clowns, and they were the Ronald McDonald and the Big Boy. And but I've never been there, so I'm very excited to welcome my next guest. Her name is Jennifer Kronk, and she is the curator of the Circus World Museum, and she joins us on the stream right now. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Doing very well. You ready to talk some clowns and some circus and all things? All right. I have to tell you, I attended clown college and dropped out after 2 years because I couldn't make the grades.
Sounds about right.
Still want to be on the show? Okay. So, all right, introduce yourself a little bit. Tell us about you. How did you end up in Baraboo at this really cool? I would assume you love this gig.
It's pretty fantastic, but
Yeah.
I do not have any circus background, which is terrible, I know. But I was working at a history museum out in Colorado. I'd gone to grad school out there, and my husband and I were looking at moving back to the Midwest where we are from. And this is the first job I saw when I Googled, jobs in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And I thought, I don't know anything about circus, but it seems really interesting. And I thought I could do it. And I got the job, and it's fantastic. The thing that's always interested me is the stories of people. I have an anthropology background. I love that kind of thing. And the circus gives you every kind of story you could ever want or could imagine. It's really, really fun. Every day is something new, and I get to learn all of this really crazy stuff.
That's so great. So, all right. So for those of us who have not been, I've never even been to Baraboo.
You need to get down here. It's great.
Well, I hear it's beautiful. First of all, it's supposed to be
really fantastic.
Yeah. But tell us a little bit about Circus World.
Okay.
If people do visit, and we'll get to the upcoming events, but in general, what can they expect there?
Well, so Circus World is one of the historic sites owned by the state of Wisconsin. We're part of the Wisconsin Historical Society. So there's sites all over the state. We're one of those. But what makes us really unique is our museum is located in the original winter quarters of the Ringling Brothers Circus. So Ringling Brothers started their circus out of Baraboo in the 1880s. That's a question we get all the time from people. Why is there a circus museum in Baraboo?
That was one of my questions, yeah.
Exactly. City of 12,000, why is there a circus museum? And it's because these brothers were living here in Baraboo when they got it in their heads that they wanted to start a circus. Some of them had done some performing previously. Al Ringling was known for balancing a plow on his chin, as people do, right?
Oh, sure.
They were
Party
musicians, they were comedians, but they started a circus. And beginning in 1886, they decided, well, we need a place to come back and, work on our show every year, because circuses would go out in the spring. They would travel all summer long into the fall. And then come winter time, they would go back to a home base to, paint the wagons and work on what the show was going to be the next year and stuff like that. And so the Ringlings did that in Baraboo, along the Baraboo River. And they were here until 1918. They built dozens of buildings during that time. So they would come back here, and this is where they housed their elephants and their horses and all the other animals. All of those things were based in Baraboo. In the 1890s, early 1900s, people could look out their window and see the elephants taking a walk down the street because that's what they did.
So okay, so that was their winter headquarters too. They would come back and they would practice in these buildings, and they would stay sharp and all that kind of stuff. But why do you think they stayed there in the winter? Like, you know how cold Wisconsin gets. They could have gone southwest, southeast, and had warmer weather. But it's kind of cool that they still did that here in Wisconsin.
Right. And, you know, they were hardy Midwestern boys. They had lived throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa as children. Their father was a harness maker who moved around as, you know, he could find the work. Yeah. And the good thing about the Midwest is that it was a good jumping off point for the circus season because, you know, you could go east, you could go west, you could go south. Okay. And really, Wisconsin is pretty rare in that over 120 circuses came out of Wisconsin in its history, which is kind of insane to think about.
Yes, it's so great.
There were circuses all over the states, you know, from the south up to the north, east, west. And so Baraboo didn't just have the Ringling Brothers Circus. They also had the Gomar Brothers Circus, who were actually first cousins to the Ringlings. But it was a bunch of brothers who had their own show that also traveled all over the country. And so Baraboo was just a good place to call home. They had abundant feed for all their animals because obviously we have the agriculture here. And in the winter time, you have all of these farmers who aren't working quite as much as they are during the growing season. And so they would be able to come in and help care for the animals and do things like that when they were back here in Baraboo. So it was a huge employer of the local citizens who lived in Baraboo at the time.
That is the voice of Jennifer Kronk. She is here discussing. She's the curator of Circus World at the Circus History Museum, one of 11 sites in the Wisconsin Historical Society. And a shout out to our friend Rebecca Warner, who set up this interview with you, Jennifer. We're going to do the news quick, and then we'll come back. And she's got a lot to tell us about what's going on there. So don't go away, folks. It's Pete Schwaba and Nite Lite.
You're listening to the Talk of Green Bay, WGBW. Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. On day 2 of the Sean Combs sex trafficking and racketeering trial, ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura testifying for 6 hours about Combs allegedly organizing drug and sex-fueled parties.
She testified that those freak-offs made her feel dirty and worthless, but that she felt like she did not have a choice but to participate because she says Combs would become violent with her, bash her in the head, kick and drag her, and that she didn't know what would happen if she didn't do what he wanted her to do.
ABC's Rena Roy. In Los Angeles, a hearing to determine whether the Menendez brothers spent enough time in prison has moved to closing arguments. Menendez attorneys and witnesses arguing that the brothers have rehabilitated since they killed their parents at their Beverly Hills home in 1989. Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan, accused of helping a man evade immigration authorities by letting him exit her courtroom by a different route, indicted today by a federal grand jury. Dugan was suspended from the bench in April. This is ABC News.
The Brewers try to rebound. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. It's the Brewers and the Guardians tonight at Progressive Field. Their crew losing 5-0 after Jackson Churio misjudged a pop fly to center field, giving up a 3-run double to Gabriel Arias in the 4th. Pat Murphy.
I mean, there's a reason he wasn't in center field before that, and he's done some really nice things. But, you know, we've got 2 center fielders down. He plays center, and some people think he's a center fielder, and mistakes like this or plays like this that he doesn't make, he'll learn from.
Freddie Peralta recording his 1,000th career strikeout despite the loss. NFL, the Packers in Green Bay for their off-season conditioning program. Defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley asked, how important would it be to get Jair Alexander back this year?
Yeah, I think we'll leave that one up to see what happens rather than talk on any hypotheticals. No, I respect the question, and I hope you respect my answer on that one.
That's Packers defensive coach Jeff Hafley. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. The Legally Blonde prequel episodic series is in production. The show is called Elle, which is short for Elle Fanning, the character played by Reese Witherspoon, who is one of the show's executive producers. Witherspoon says there are 2 episodes completed. Lexi Mindtree plays the young version of Elle. TheWrap.com reports the show is looking at a 2026 summer release on Amazon Prime. Industry insiders say production work has vanished from California, LA specifically. Deadline is reporting that LA Mayor Karen Bass is pushing for new incentives, hoping to bring back more work to the city. Governor Gavin Newsom and the state government also appear to be on board, as Newsom's office says he is hoping to inject $750 million a year in film and TV incentives by way of a bill that supposedly has deep support within the state legislature. Here's hoping Wisconsin does the same. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
I'm meteorologist Mace Michaels. For tonight, mostly cloudy, lows in the upper 50s. And for tomorrow, again, a mix of sun and clouds, a pop-up storm or two, and highs in the mid-70s. Showers and thunderstorms possible into Thursday. Then much cooler for Friday and the upcoming weekend. Right now, it's 73.
Matinee on Air.
Corrine Hendrickson, she owns a daycare center.
We're doing this day without childcare. What we do is we talk about what would happen, what would it look like if we didn't have childcare. But we also talk about what could it be? What can we do to change the system? I love all the protests. I love all the people speaking out against things. But we also need to participate in democracy by saying what we want and what we need and talk to our reps that way. So that's what this event is all about.
Catch Matinee on Air at its new time. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on Civic Media and the Civic Media app. Dr. Kristen Lyerly.
Freedom Town Chair and Director of Parks for Outagamie County, Justin Schumacher. Do you think the bureaucracy is responding to the needs of the people?
No, I think if it was responsive, we wouldn't be in the position we're in right now. That doesn't mean we burn the entire system down. How do we solve it? Get involved. Join your Parks Committee. Recognize where we're not good and improve it.
The Dr. Kristen Lyerly Show. Saturday and Sunday afternoons at 3 on WGBW and WISS and the Civic Media app. John Mino and Jim Schmidt.
On Wednesday's show, we'll welcome John Kramer in our
This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. Great to have you with me on this Tuesday night, beautiful Tuesday night in the state of Wisconsin. We are broadcasting live throughout the state from beautiful downtown Green Bay. Tomorrow night on the show, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel entertainment writer Chris Foran will be here to talk movies and TV. And then award-winning Civic Media meteorologist Brittany Merlot will join us at 7:35. So another fun night tomorrow night. Right now, we have some more time with our current guest, Jennifer Kronk. She is the curator she is the Circus World Curator of Circus History. Am I saying that right, Jennifer?
It's a mouthful, right?
It's the circus. It's the double circus that's messing me up.
Right?
It's
huge. It's important.
You're a curator and you're very important and you know a lot about the circus. That's where we'll start from there. But so we've got first of all, we have a question on the stream I want to ask you. Craig Kennett says, Pete, a question for your guest, Jennifer. Do they still have the animation armature for Mighty Joe Young on display at the Circus Museum? I've always wanted to see that. Does that sound familiar?
It does not, no.
Okay, that must have been a exhibit from years and years ago because Mighty Joe Young came out years ago. So Well, there you go, Craig. I asked, but thank you for listening, and thank you for your question. So, Jennifer, where should we start here? We've got some time. I want to help you get the word out about some fun events you have coming up. I also have my own questions, but, your dime, your dance floor. So what do you want to talk about next?
Well, we can talk a little bit about how the museum came to be. We started on that, but
yeah.
The Ringlings left Baraboo here in 1918. At that time, they combined their show with the Barnum and Bailey Circus to become the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus, which is the long title that a lot of people are familiar with. And Barnum and Bailey's winter quarters were out in Connecticut, so the Ringlings decided to move out there. So they were out there for about 10 years before they moved to Florida. And, that goes to your question about nicer weather in the winter, right? Go to Florida.
Yeah.
So that's what they did too. But as a result, there were all of these barns here in Baraboo that were left empty. And so they were rented out to local businesses. They were used by, there was a junkyard, there was a chick hatchery with little baby chicks in it. There was lots of things going on in these buildings. They were used by businesses. But by the 50s, there was a gentleman named John M. Kelly, and he had been the attorney to the Ringling Brothers for many years. He was from Portage, so he was, a local boy. But he was telling anyone who would listen that there needed to be a circus museum, and it had to be in Baraboo. And so he garnered support from the State Historical Society of Wisconsin, for one, and we were able to open this museum July 1st, 1959. And when we opened, we had 2 of the historic barns as part of the museum. And so visitors could come and see 6 wagons at that time. Now we have, something like 250, so a couple more.
I saw that. That is crazy. These were actual wagons, and they're restored, I assume?
Yeah, we have about 250. Some are off-site and have not been restored, but we have, 120, 30 or so around the grounds that people can see. And so these are both, there was parade wagons. Circus parades would happen to get people excited to come see the circus. And so those are the very ornamented ones, lots of carvings. And so we have a number of those, but there's also wagons that were more utilitarian, because obviously they had to carry all their stuff, right? They were traveling from place to place with all of their equipment and things like that. And so the baggage wagons are sometimes not quite as exciting, but we have all of these to see. Most of them are concentrated in one particular building, which has about 90 of them in there. But you'll find them sprinkled in buildings throughout the grounds. But we started with 6 whole wagons when we opened in 1959.
Oh my gosh.
But we had a performance starting then as well. People could come see a circus. And from there, we just grew. As some of these additional winter quarters buildings were becoming available, the owners were selling them, we were purchasing them. So now we have a number of these historic buildings, and they're actually National Historic Landmarks as well.
Yeah.
And so we have 7 of those here. There's a couple more in private hands right outside our grounds, but people can see what it was like for the Ringlings when they were, running their show. And we have grants going on for restoration work on some of these buildings. We're almost done with the office building. We received a grant from the National Park Service, Save America's Treasures grants. And so that work has been going on for the last couple of years. We'll be starting the work on one of the animal houses, 1901 Animal House. Something really cool about that one, which we didn't even know anything about, as they were doing some investigation in preparation for this grant, they realized that below the grounds, below the floor, there were bear dens. So that's where the bears would go to hibernate for the winter when they were back in Baraboo. It's just wild. These are the things that were.
Yeah. I love that.
From all the regular folks.
My guest is Jennifer Cronk. She is the Circus World Curator of Circus History in Baraboo. One of the things I thought was interesting Well, there's a lot of stuff, and Rebecca gave us all this information, which I think is great. But the visitor center alone has hundreds of artifacts celebrating circus arts from all over the span of years. Special selections include the circus posters and drawings, including a rare Annie Oakley poster, along with a complete set of sketches, circus costumes, Cinderella's carriage, and her glass slipper, and even items from 1952 Cecil B. DeMille movie, Greatest Show on Earth. That's all just in the visitor center. Right. So how long do people need? Let's say a family of 5 or 4 or whatever want to go to Circus World. How much time should they spend there? Because you've also got the Restoration Center. You've got the summer season's Big Top. What goes on there in the Big Top? That sounds really cool.
Yeah, so we have a live circus performance that happens twice a day, morning and afternoon. It's the same show, so you only have to go once, but you can go twice if you really like it.
Sure.
And in that show, our acts change every year, what we have. So this year, it's all led by our ringmaster, Robert Trader, but we have a hula hoop act, we have unicycle, we have clowns, we have an aerial act, we have, for the first time, there's going to be a motorcycle incline act in the tent itself. We have horses, we have a Russian swing. Outside in the afternoon, you can see a flying trapeze. So there's juggling. There's all of these different circus acts that you can experience live. And really, if you're visiting, you can spend easily the entire day there. You can start your morning going to our guided wagon tour, so you can learn more about the history of these amazing wagons that we have. And then you can head over to the Big Top show at 11. After that, you can grab a bite to eat. We have our cookhouse grill, so people can get food as well. There's Kids World Circus, where kids can be part of a circus. In the afternoon, we have the flying trapeze, and then all of the historic buildings that have exhibits in as well. So you can plan to spend the entire day there. There's enough to see to keep you occupied the whole time.
It's so great, and it's just such great work the Wisconsin Historical Society does to give us these great places to visit. And there's 11 of them. And just on your grounds alone, it sounds like you have 7 more historic landmarks, which is pretty cool. What's the Iron Jaw exhibit? That sounds like a fun live, and maybe you touched on that a little bit, but can you go into a little more detail?
That's the one where that is a new exhibit that I worked on this year. So I do a lot of the exhibit development here as well. And Iron Jaw is one of those acts that when I first learned about it as a circus novice, not knowing anything, I was like, what? Is it real? Because it is performers hanging by their teeth. They have a mouthpiece.
It's insane. And people can see that. People can see that if they go to Circus World. You guys have that.
Well, we do not have a live Iron Jaw act this year.
Oh, exhibit. Okay.
An exhibit that shows photographs of people doing it. We have these mouthpieces. And so our oldest mouthpiece dates to 1910. It is honestly just a piece of stacked leather on a hook. And that's about it. Someone bit into it and hung from a trapeze bar or whatever. And so Iron Jaw artists would often, some of them would hang from a trapeze bar, but there'd be a swivel so you can spin around. Some would do what was called a slide for life. So you'd start high up at the peak of the Big Top and slide down a rope or a wire. There's a video online, which is amazing, of an Iron Jaw performer named Tiny Klein. She actually went on to become the first Tinkerbell at Disneyland.
Oh, nice.
At age 70, mind you, which is pretty amazing. But there's a YouTube video of her doing a slide for life over Broadway in New York City. So you can see this just her going across, and there being crowds below and all these skyscrapers. And it's one of those acts that just is mind-boggling, because who decided they should try this and then succeeded at it and kept it going? It's been going on since the 19th century, and it's still happening today. I went to a circus last month and I saw 2 different Iron Jaw performers. And so it's pretty amazing.
Daniel texts in. He's in the 920, Jennifer, and he says, "Can Jennifer comment on the tent of mannequins representing famous sideshow freaks? Is that still there?"
We do have the sideshow acts represented, and these fiberglass figures actually date back to the 60s. We first had them displayed on the grounds here. They've been, repainted and taken care of since then. And more recently, too, we're trying to contextualize that a little bit, because obviously that word freak is thrown around a lot.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and not necessarily, and that's what they were called historically,
right,
times. But there are people with both physical differences, but also you have the snake charmers and the tattooed ladies and things like that as well. And so we have some information talking about some of the real people that did those acts as well, on the ground. So the sideshow tent is still there. Yes.
That's really fascinating. You have some upcoming events at Circus World, including Military Service Day, which is May 24th, free to military members, which is a nice perk. Circus World Anniversary Days, June 27th through the 30th, $6 admission to celebrate the 66th anniversary of Circus World. Those sound like fun.
You can't get a better deal than that, right?
No.
What can you do for $6?
I mean, it's almost worth joining the military just to get in free on that day, I think, right?
Another thing, though, you had mentioned we're one of 11 historic sites. You can buy a membership to the Wisconsin Historical Society and get in free to all of the sites as many times as you want in the year. And so that's a really good deal. You have family, a bunch of kids, you can bring them to Circus World. You can take them over to Old World and then Wade House and then Villa Louise. So you can move all over the state and see these amazing historic sites.
All right. We'll have a couple more minutes with Jennifer after a very short break here, and then we will let her get on with her evening, and we will finish up reading your texts, and that will be a wrap, folks. But don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba on the Civic Media Radio Network.
With senoritas who can sway. Right now, tomorrow's looking bright.
As Wisconsin has a fish fry on a Friday night, this is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Mark your calendars for heart-pumping, exhilarating action at the 2025 Queen Marinette's Run the River Powerboat Races in Marinette, Wisconsin on June 7th and 8th. The action will be nonstop as these high-octane boats reach speeds of over 105 miles per hour. Races kick off on Saturday and Sunday at 12:30 p.m. and run throughout the day. Free for the whole family, this is the perfect summertime weekend getaway. For more information, head to fishonmarinette.com and click on the events page.
It's the Eco Minute powered by Clean Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Barrio. A major program that protects drinking water is on the chopping block in Congress. Lawmakers are considering slashing $2.4 billion from the state revolving fund. The program helps Wisconsin replace lead pipes and filter toxic contamination out of drinking water supplies. Our state will lose $54 million next year if funding gets cut. Parts of Wisconsin are being invaded this month by lake midges. Swarms of the insects have been rising from water bodies, including Lake Monona in Madison. The bugs can create quite a scene when they all hatch at once, but they are harmless and provide food for fish, bats, and birds. Knowledge is power. For a deep dive into environmental issues across Wisconsin, check out my Defender podcast at cleanwisconsin.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
We all know we're spring cleaning, and when you have those leftover old appliances, kind of rack your brain on what to do. You don't want it to end up in a landfill. Well, the guys at St. Paul's United Methodist Church, they got you covered. Hey, it's Amanda with another New Wisco 411 for you, brought to you by Area 509 in Appleton. And on Saturday, May 17th from 9 till noon, recycle anything with a plug. There is a whole list, long list, of things that are recyclable, and you can check it out by going to wgbw.fm and clicking events. Let's save the planet, guys. Don't throw it in a landfill.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Professor Howard Schwaba.
The point is worth making that an individual government official with the power to unilaterally declare that people he sees without any opportunity of a hearing of any kind is getting really close to the model of rule that the American constitutional system is entirely designed to resist.
Entirely designed to resist. Antithetical to our foundational principles.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekday afternoons 4 until 6 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the app. The Todd Albaugh Show.
I'm as guilty as anybody about this, not talking to real people in person. I'm sorry, I don't believe that texting or video conferencing or any other of that jazz can supplement one-on-one interaction. We as humans need other humans. We need to connect with people. So anyway, that's the public service announcement to start off the week. Get outside and talk to real live humans. You'll feel better.
Catch the Todd Albaugh Show at its new time, weekdays 2 to 4 on Civic Media and the Civic.
Welcome back. This is Nightlight with Pete Schwaba. We are in the final throes of tonight's broadcast. Our question of the night was, if you only could pick one style of music to listen to for the rest of your life, what would it be? And the answers have been all over the place. PJ on the stream says alternative rock music. Thank you, PJ. We'll read the rest of your text coming up momentarily. We have a couple minutes left with our new friend, Jennifer Kronk, who is the Circus World Curator of Circus History in Baraboo. It is definitely worth a visit. You can find more information on their website, circusworldbaraboo.org. And it is free admission, as Jennifer mentioned, if to Wisconsin Historical Society members, which is a really nice perk. Jennifer, you said you were elsewhere before you came here at a different museum. How connected do you get when you have a job like this to the place you're at? Like, do you have this affinity now for the circus, and would it be hard to leave and that kind of stuff? Or is there a museum in particular you'd love to go to that suits your interests better? As passionate as you may be about your work now, is it a place that would be hard to leave?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because also, the Baraboo community is so supportive of the circus because it's been a part of the city's history for so many years. And while I never could have imagined that I would be devoting my life to circus history, I saw one circus as a child. I grew up in the cornfields of Minnesota and there wasn't much going on, but I love it. Every day, I learn something new, something wild. Things are coming out of my mouth that I never imagined would, because it's so, questions that I'm asking honestly would sound bizarre to anyone who didn't know that I worked at a circus museum. And it's fun to talk about. And, the collection that I am responsible for caring for is so dynamic and amazing. We have this wardrobe collection that's outstanding, ringmaster costumes dating back to 1860 and feathers and sequins and all the amazing things. So it would be really, really tough to leave and find something that is this interesting and exciting on a daily basis.
We have about 30 seconds left. Is the circus more popular than it used to be, or less popular?
It's less popular because for so many years it was the dominant form of entertainment in the country. People didn't have other options, right? The circus would come to town and whole cities would shut down. Like, there wouldn't be school, the stores would be closed because everybody would go to the circus. And so now people can go on YouTube and see anything they want to see, but there's still nothing that compares to seeing a live performance of the circus arts, and seeing all of that right in front of you is so amazing. So it's changed a lot, evolved over the years, but it's still there and it's still worth seeing.
And check out the next best thing. If you can't get to the actual circus, head down to Circus World in Baraboo. Jennifer Kronk, thank you so much for taking the time out tonight, and have a great season.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. That's Jennifer Kronk. Conrad, we got a road trip. We always talk about road tripping. That Al Ringling Theater is supposed to be. Remember we had Charo on the show last year, and that's where she was performing. And
Pete, with all these driving stories, I don't think I want to be in a car with you.
Hey, dude, it's not me. I am a responsible, seat-wearing, good citizen. We got some text to get through here before we close things down. Our question of the night was, if you could only listen to one kind of music the rest of your life, what would it be? Rhonda from Madison says, I would say Motown. You have the bubblegum pop of the Beach Boys and harmonies and multiple voices, but they also have slow and fast tunes, and the songs also have blues and rock. So I think that would be a good compromise over a long period of time. That's a great answer, Rhonda. AJ again says, apologize for thinking Conrad's first initial was C when it's actually K. Very forgivable, AJ. Anna from Madison says, hi, Pete and Conrad. I could listen to classic rock forever. I hope so, because you only get one choice, Anna. Great one, though. Tom from New Berlin says, love ooze. I think he means blues. I think Tom
maybe that's
does voice.
Maybe that's a band.
Unless that's a music I haven't heard of yet. Oh, where are we going here? Brian from Green Bay says, yodeling music.
That's going to haunt you, I feel like, more than...
You're going to kill yourself. Yeah. It's just yodeling, too. It's not yodeling music, Brian. I think
it would be a chore to put on
music. I know what you were going for, but I think it's just yodeling. Tyler from Wisconsin Rapids, he's in the 608. He says, Gregorian chant, because we are all doomed. Or yakety sax to keep me one step ahead of the Grim Reaper. That might be the text of the night. That's beautiful. Steady Eddie in the 608 says, if I could only listen to one style of music, I would listen to the folk rock of the 1960s. Artists like James Taylor, Paul Simon, Joni Mitchell, and Bob Dylan. Though I'm always looking for new old music that I may have missed. Recently, I discovered on YouTube the song Misty, sung by an aging gracefully Johnny Mathis. Johnny Mathis. Yes, love him. I added that. Johnny first made it a hit in 1959. At age 89, he is still performing and singing Misty beautifully. It's a great song. Steadfast, look at me. I'm as helpless as a kitten in a tree. Edward. Did you get what I did there? He gave himself like a moniker in between his first and last names. I didn't know if that came across. And then finally, from the 818, Bridget says, jazz, something easy and relaxing. Wonderful text tonight, everybody. Oh, also, Monica Hale on social media said punk rock. She says she could listen to The Clash forever. Again, that's a long time. But I love all of these answers. Thank you to Jennifer Kronk. Thank you to Greg Vadney for driving up from Manitowoc. Check out the RAR West Museum website and check out Circus World. So much going on at both of these museums. They are true treasures here in Wisconsin. And thank you to all of you for your texts and listening. A lot of text tonight and a lot of fun with that question. So we'll be back tomorrow night to do it all again. That's what we do, Conrad.
That's what we do.
Every weeknight, 6 to 8. If you're on the socials, give us a like or a follow. We always love getting likes and follows because that's what you're supposed to do. And thank you all for listening. We'll be back tomorrow night again on behalf of the lovable producer, Conrad. Good night, Wisconsin.
Take it to your best friend's house, marmalade, we're making out, oh yeah.